The Galactic Tribunal was known across the stars. It was where the most powerful species in the galaxy met to decide the fate of others. Their decisions could crush planets or free entire civilizations. Their courtroom floated in space, a massive silver ring that orbited a dying blue star. Inside, hundreds of alien leaders sat in silence. Their glowing eyes, sharp horns, scaled skin, and floating forms filled the dark room with an air of danger and judgment. They were ready for another hearing. This time, it was Earth on trial. "Bring in the representative of the humans," announced a tall, red-skinned judge with 6 glowing eyes. A side door opened. Everyone turned to see who would enter. It was just a man. He walked slowly into the center of the chamber. No guards, no fancy suit. Just a plain black jacket, boots dusty from travel, and calm eyes. He looked young, maybe mid-30s. No weapons, no fear. One alien whispered, "That's their representative." Just one man, another laughed. Typical humans, so dramatic. A third said, "He won't last 5 minutes." The man stood in the circle of light. The room waited. "My name is Daniel Reeve," he said softly. His voice was calm, but it carried across the hall as if the room itself wanted everyone to hear him. "I speak for Earth." A green, bird-like alien leaned forward. "You are accused of violating the Stellar Peace Code. Earth has expanded into protected zones. You ignored warnings. You used forbidden technologies." Daniel nodded. "We did explore. We did create. But we violated no true law." The room buzzed. The judges smirked. "Do you deny using dark energy drives?" the red-skinned judge asked. "No," Daniel replied, "but we didn't invent them. We remembered them." Silence. "What?" one alien asked. Daniel took a breath. "You think humans are new to the stars? You think we just arrived?" "But that's not true," explained, growled a large, stone-skinned creature. Daniel held up a small black device, no bigger than a coin. He pressed it. A soft light filled the air. A hologram appeared, a swirling image of old star maps, battles, and lost worlds. "These are not fantasies," Daniel said. "They are memories, records from Earth's past." Before the fall, a cold wind seemed to move through the room, though no wind existed in the sealed chamber. "That's impossible," one judge said sharply. "Your kind only left your planet 300 years ago." Daniel looked up, eyes steady. "That's what we let you believe." The red judge stood. "You claim Earth was once a galactic power." "No," Daniel said. "I claim Earth was the galactic power. We ruled this part of the galaxy before your races could even speak. Then we disappeared. But we didn't die. We hid. We waited." The hologram showed ancient cities in space, human fleets with strange designs, and worlds now forgotten. "Lies," an alien shouted. "A trick." But others in the room didn't speak. They stared at the images, their faces pale. Some recognized symbols. Others had heard forbidden stories whispered in dark halls. One judge, a long-lived being from the Krevek order, stood slowly. "I've seen that symbol. On a dead world, a ruin no one could understand." Daniel nodded. "Earth once built empires. Then came the Great Silence. We lost everything: language, machines, history. But deep inside, we remembered." "Why come now?" asked the bird-like alien. "Why not stay hidden?" "Because," Daniel said, stepping closer, "you began hunting our colonies. You called us weak. You sent ships to observe. But we know what you meant. You were preparing for conquest." The tribunal room grew colder. "We came to judge you," said one of the judges, voice shaking. "But now, I wonder." Daniel's face remained calm. "We don't want war. We want peace. But if you force us to remember who we were, we will." "Are you threatening the tribunal?" the red judge hissed. "No," Daniel said. "I'm warning you." Another judge whispered, his eyes. "He's not afraid." Daniel looked around. "Because I carry no weapon, just words. But words shape fear, don't they? You laughed when I entered. None of you are laughing now." No one was. The red judge sat down, slowly. "We must vote," one alien finally said. "We must decide Earth's fate." "No," said the Krevek judge. "We must decide our fate." Daniel pressed the device again. The hologram vanished. Silence returned. "I will go now," he said. Do as you wish. Earth will be ready." He turned and began walking away. "Wait," the red judge said, voice dry. "What are you, really?" Daniel paused at the doorway. Without turning, he replied, "A human." The door closed behind him. For several long minutes, the tribunal chamber remained silent. Then the Galactic judge spoke in a whisper. "Archive everything we may have just spoken to a ghost of our makers." The Galactic Tribunal was no longer laughing. After Daniel Reeve walked out of the courtroom, silence wrapped around every seat like cold mist. Some judges stared at the place where he had stood. Others looked at each other in fear. The red-skinned judge, once proud and loud, now sat quiet, hands shaking slightly. The Galactic judge, the one who had recognized the ancient human symbol, finally broke the silence. "Seal the chamber," he said. "No one speaks of this outside." A few judges protested. "Why hide this?" If it's true," the Galactic judge interrupted, "then we are sitting in a lie. The entire foundation of this tribunal, the galaxy's laws, everything, is built on false history." The words struck hard. Every being in the room knew what that meant. Earth wasn't a newcomer. It was ancient, and it had returned in a dark corner of the chamber. A quiet voice spoke. "Then what do we do now?" The red judge looked up. "We find out who Daniel Reeve really is." Across the stars, aboard a small Earth ship drifting near a gas giant, Daniel sat alone. He stared out the window, watching the swirling storms. Below, a voice spoke from behind him. "Transmission complete. Tribunal response pending." Daniel didn't answer. He closed his eyes. For a moment, he looked tired, older than his face. Showed another voice, this time human, came through the ship's speaker. "Daniel, the tribunal, just shut down external communications. They're scared." "I expected that," he said. "Did it work?" Daniel opened his eyes again. They listened. "That's the first step." Back at the tribunal, a group of senior judges gathered in a private room, only 13 seats, only the most powerful. "We have a problem," said one with silver skin and glowing veins. "If Earth is telling the truth, we may be facing a species with deep knowledge of weapons, tactics, and technologies long forgotten." "They came in peace," said another. "They came with stories," the red judge growled. "And stories can become revolutions." The Galactic judge leaned forward. "Or truths. Maybe Earth didn't lie. Maybe we buried something we weren't ready to face." An older judge from the Ulari species, blind but wise, raised her head. "The boy said we should remember." "What if he meant more than history?" "What do you mean?" another asked. "I mean," she said, voice like wind through stone, "maybe Earth remembers something we all chose to forget. Maybe they never stopped watching us. Maybe they let us grow like children, waiting to see if we'd become better." Daniel stood in a small room aboard his ship. On the table lay a steel box, old and scratched. He opened it carefully. Inside was a book, an actual book paper, leather cover, pages filled with handwritten notes. He touched the first page. The words were written by his great-grandfather, a scientist who had uncovered the ruins beneath the ice of Antarctica 100 years ago. It was there that truth had begun to come back. Before that, humans had forgotten everything. The fall had erased their past. War, time, and silence had buried it all. But under the ice, they had found machines. Strange ones, ones not made in the modern age, and they were human. Since then, Earth had slowly remembered, quietly, secretly, and they had prepared. Aboard the Tribunal station, alarms suddenly rang. Intrusion detected in Archive Vault 9. A robotic voice shouted. The red judge raced to a control screen. "Who gave access?" "No one," the system answered. They rushed to the archive chamber, a vault deep below the tribunal hall. Only top judges could enter. Inside were ancient records documents older than the tribunal itself, and yet something was awake. A soft blue glow filled the chamber. A machine no one had touched in centuries was now active. It was a sphere, floating, humming, and speaking. Language pattern match, Earth voice match. Daniel Reeve, memory sector unlocked. "What is this?" a judge whispered. The machine spoke again. Memory message from human command recorded 143,000 standard cycles ago. Gasps echoed in the chamber. The machine played a hologram. A man-human stood in a black uniform. Hands behind his back, he looked strong. Serious. "I am Commander Elias Reeve of the Terran Core Fleet," the man said. "This message is for any species who rise after us. We are leaving, not because we lost, but because we must disappear. The galaxy needs to forget us for a time." The room froze. "If you find this," Elias continued, "know this. Earth will return. We will remember. And when we do, judge us not by how we left, but by how we come back." The image vanished. The Kravik judge whispered. "He had the same eyes, the same name," someone added. Back on his ship, Daniel closed the book. A light blinked on the console. A transmission. From the Tribunal, he pressed the button. A judge's voice filled the room. "We request a meeting. A private one." Daniel smiled faintly. Of course. Inside the private meeting room, the 13 senior judges appeared via hologram. Their faces were serious. No jokes, no mockery. "We reviewed your evidence," said the red judge. "We activated an old AI. It confirmed your claim." Daniel waited. "You are not what we thought. Earth is not what we thought." Daniel nodded slowly. "We never wanted to rule again. We only wanted to be left alone. But the galaxy kept knocking on our door." The Kravik judge asked, "What do you want now?" Daniel looked at each of them. "A correction. You will remove all charges against Earth. You will stop sending fleets near our borders, and you will unseal the old records. Let the galaxy know the truth." A few judges exchanged glances. "Some species will panic," said the Ulari judge. "Some already have," Daniel said. "But peace built on lies always cracks. It's time the stars remembered who lit the fire first." Silence. Then the Kravik judge stood. "We will do it." The red judge frowned. "This is madness." "No," the Kravik judge said. "This is history." Daniel stood once again, alone on the bridge of his ship. Below him, Earth rotated quietly in space. Blue oceans, green forests, lights of cities glowing. He looked peaceful, but he was not weak. Earth had returned not as a conqueror, but as a reminder. The galaxy had forgotten who humans were. Now they remembered. 2 weeks had passed since Daniel Reeve spoke before the Galactic Tribunal. The galaxy hadn't been the same since. The Tribunal had erased the official charges. Against Earth, many systems were ordered to stay away from human space. Ancient archives had been unlocked. The truth was out. Some species accepted it, others were afraid, and a few wanted revenge. But Daniel wasn't done yet. A quiet wind blew through a narrow canyon on Mars. Red dust swirled in the air. Beneath the rocky surface, deep underground, was an ancient research site hidden from the public dot. Daniel entered the steel doors with a heavy step. A team of scientists waited inside, all dressed in gray. They stood when they saw him. "Sir," one of them said, "we've decoded more of the vault's records, and there's something you should see." Daniel nodded and followed them. They walked past old machines, strange glowing walls, and rooms filled with unknown symbols. All of it had been found buried beneath the Martian ice nearly 70 years ago. Some of it looked alien, but the DNA scans had proven one shocking fact. Humans had built this thousands of years ago. Inside a sealed room, the scientist handed Daniel a tablet. "These are transmission logs," she said, "from before the fall, before Earth lost everything." Daniel scrolled through lines of text, messages between Earth and unknown colonies, reports of war, disappearances, and finally, a final entry, a warning. "Prepare the silence protocol. We must vanish. Let them think we are gone. Only those with the Reeve line shall hold the key." Daniel stared at the last words, heart pounding. "The Reeve line?" he whispered. The scientist looked at him. "Your family name?" He nodded. "My great-grandfather, my grandfather." They knew. They passed it down, quietly, waiting. One of the younger scientists asked nervously, why did they hide? Why did they let Earth fall into darkness? Daniel answered slowly, because there was something out there, something they couldn't fight, so they made a choice. Hide, sleep, survive. Another scientist pointed to a star map on the wall. "We think we've found one of the old colonies. If the transmission is correct, the survivors might have gone there." Daniel turned to look. The planet was far outside current known space, a black zone, a place no one had explored for centuries. "We need to go," he said back in the Galactic Tribunal. Fear had taken root. In secret meetings, some species whispered dark ideas. Earth is a threat. They're lying. They're rebuilding. Empire. If they once ruled the stars, they might want to rule again. "They already made us look weak," one cold-blooded ambassador said. "We should strike now, before they grow stronger." The red-skinned judge slammed the table. "You want another war? One we might not win. But if we wait, it might be too late." The Kravik judge stood slowly. "Then perhaps we should know more about their truth before we act again." He looked around the room. "Send a spy." Daniel's ship moved through deep space, heading for the lost colony. The stars outside were dim and strange. The navigation systems flickered. Old maps didn't cover this region. No signals, no beacons, just silence. He sat in the command chair, reading the logs again. "Let them think we are gone." The words haunted him. What had the old humans feared so much? A light blinked on the control panel. "Unknown object approaching," the AI said. Daniel stood quickly. "Show it." A small drone was flying toward the ship. Its design was sleek, not human. "Tribunal tech," he muttered. He opened a channel. "This is Earth Vessel Phoenix. You are in restricted space. Identify yourself." No response. The drone didn't fire, it just scanned the ship, then turned and flew away. Daniel stared at the screen. "They're watching us." 3 days later, Daniel's ship reached the target planet. It was dark, covered in storms. The surface looked dead, but deep scans showed signs of artificial structures under the surface. He landed near a mountain ridge. The wind howled outside. The air was thin, but breathable. He stepped out, boots crunching on black rock. "Let's see what secrets you've been hiding." He walked for hours, using ancient codes passed down through his family. The scanner in his hand beeped faster with each step. Then he found it, a doorway. Hidden behind a wall of stone, it opened at his touch. Inside, there were stairs. Lights flickered, on blue and soft. The deeper he went, the warmer it became. Then he reached a large chamber and froze. There were people, human bodies, perfectly preserved in stasis pods. Rows and rows of them, hundreds. He stepped closer. Their faces were peaceful, asleep. A screen on the wall came to life. "Reveline confirmed," the AI said. "Welcome, Guardian." Daniel's heart pounded. "Status?" he asked. "All systems ready, unit stable. Mission status, waiting for rebirth signal." "Who are they?" he asked. "Soldiers, scientists, leaders, survivors, hidden during the fall, waiting to rebuild." Daniel stood still. This changed everything. Earth hadn't just survived, it had planned to return. Meanwhile, back at the Tribunal, the spy drone returned. It showed footage of Daniel entering the ancient facility, images of sleeping humans. A glowing AI, the Kravik. Judge watched quietly. "Is this a threat?" one ambassador asked. "It's a message," the Kravik judge replied. "They didn't just come back. They were always ready." The red judge hissed. "They have armies in stasis. They've hidden their power. This is deception." "No," said the old Yulari judge. "This is survival. What we saw wasn't war preparation. It was a shelter, a warning from the past." The room argued, shouted, split. Some wanted war. Some wanted peace. Others were simply afraid. Daniel returned to Earth with the full report. He gave it to the World Council. The hidden leaders who had guided Earth's return, one asked him, "Should we wake them?" "Not yet," Daniel said. "Let the galaxy speak first. Let's see if truth leads to peace or something worse." A week later, the Galactic Tribunal sent a message to Earth, a request for a second hearing. This time, not to judge, but to listen. And Daniel Reeve was invited to speak again. The Galactic Tribunal's second hearing was unlike anything before. This time, there was no crowd, no open court, no public broadcast. It was private. Only 12 of the most senior judges attended. Some who had laughed during the first hearing were no longer present. They had resigned or vanished inside the large chamber. The mood was different now. Heavier, colder, colder. Waiting, the main door opened. Daniel Reeve entered. Daniel Reeve entered, no guards, no weapons, no smile. He walked calmly to the center of the room, the same place where he had once stood when they mocked him. No one laughed this time. The red-skinned judge broke the silence. You returned. Daniel nodded. You invited me. The Kravik judge leaned forward. We received the drone's footage. You found something, didn't you? People sleeping. The silver-skinned judge asked. Yes, Daniel replied. Humans from before the fall, kept alive, protected, hidden, soldiers, scientists, strategists. Why? Another judge asked. Why hide such people? Why leave them behind? Daniel took a breath. Because we didn't just lose history, we lost control. Something came, something powerful. Our ancestors knew they couldn't win. So, they scattered, they buried knowledge, they erased records, and they hid. But who were you hiding from? Asked the old Ulari judge. Voice calm. Daniel looked each of them in the eye. You think you're the oldest? You're not. Something older existed, something worse, and it's still out there. The room grew quiet. What is it? Daniel stepped closer. We don't know what to call it. The ancient records call it the Eater of Stars. A few judges shifted in their seats. It moved silently. Daniel continued. It didn't invade with fleets. It didn't conquer planets. It erased them. Entire systems vanished. No war, no survivors. Just silence. The Kravik judge said, that's a myth. Daniel replied, so was Earth's history until we proved it. The red-skinned judge growled, you're trying to scare us. No, Daniel said firmly. I'm trying to warn you. Hours later, after the hearing ended, the judges met in secret. He's trying to control us. One said, no, the Kravik judge replied. He's trying to help us. Help. The red judge snapped. He just told us a monster is coming, and that they're the only ones prepared. Maybe that's true, said the Ulari judge, or maybe it's not. But ask yourself, would Earth send one man with nothing but stories unless they had the truth? The room fell silent. Meanwhile, on Earth, Daniel sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean. His ship rested behind him, silent and still. He stared at the water as the wind blew gently. A voice came through his earpiece. Daniel, said the head of Earth's Defense Council, they're debating again. They should, he replied. What's coming won't care about their laws or pride. We've confirmed movement near the edges of the spiral arm, the voice added. Signals, strange readings, could be the Eater. Daniel's face grew tense. How long? He asked. We don't know. Weeks, months, maybe more. Wake half the sleepers, Daniel said. Start preparing the relay beacons. You think the Tribunal will help? Daniel looked up at the stars. No, he said softly. I think they'll run. On the outer edge of the galaxy, in dark space where light rarely traveled, something moved, massive, silent, older than language. A black wave of gravity and hunger. It passed through asteroid fields like they were air behind it. Nothing remained, no heat, no light, no sound, just absence. Back at the Tribunal, a coded message arrived, one that no one had seen in over 10,000 years. A symbol appeared on every screen, a triangle inside, a burning circle, the same symbol from Daniel's hologram. Then words appeared in dozens. Of languages, we are awake, we remember, prepare. Panic spread quickly. Thousands of ambassadors demanded answers. The Tribunal tried to calm them, but fear spread faster than logic. One message from a border station arrived, entire moon missing. Then silence. Daniel stood before the Earth Council in a deep bunker. Behind him, glowing maps showed systems across the galaxy, blinking red. We told them the truth, he said. Now it's up to them. Should we send help? Someone asked. No, Daniel said. Not yet. Let them feel what silence feels like. A general in a dark coat stepped forward. Should we deploy the gate fleet? Daniel paused. Not yet, he repeated. One more move. What? Daniel's voice was quiet but steady. We need the galaxy to ask for our help, not just accept it, beg for it. 3 days later, the Tribunal sent a final transmission to Earth. It came not from the Red Judge, but from the Kravik. We request military support. Defensive shields, old tech, anything you can offer. Daniel listened, then replied, "Do you accept our history is true?" "Yes," the Kravik judge said. "Do you accept that Earth once saved this galaxy?" "Yes." "And will you now accept us as equals, not as a child race but as guardians?" The Kravik judge looked down, then said, "Yes." Daniel ended the call. He turned to the general. "Wake the full fleet. It's time the stars saw us again." Across the galaxy, old systems came back online. Massive ships buried under oceans, defense rings hidden in asteroid belts, human machines the galaxy thought were myths, all of them activated one by one. The humans weren't rising, they were returning in the final chambers of the tribunal. The red judge watched the holograms with wide eyes. He spoke to no one in particular. "They were never gone," he whispered. "We were just blind." Daniel stood again at the edge of the tribunal chamber, watching the stars through a wide glass window behind him. A younger officer approached. "Sir," he said, "one question." Daniel turned. "Yes. Why didn't we show them all this?" In the beginning, Daniel smiled, just a little, because, he said, truth must be earned, and fear must be felt, before anyone listens. He looked back at the stars. "We're not the ones returning," he said. "The galaxy is coming. Back to us." The Galactic Tribunal chamber had never been so quiet. The silence was heavy. Not even the translators dared to whisper. All eyes were on the human commander Rylan. Leader of Earth's delegation, stood alone in the center of the circular hall. He was not tall, not powerful, not covered in strange armor or alien metals. He looked normal to normal, and that made the silence even louder. The High Judge, a 12-eyed being named Voskareth, leaned forward. "You may continue, but remember your next words will decide the future of your species." Rylan nodded. "Understood," he said calmly. The screen behind him showed a list of charges. Violation of peace, pact aggression on Sector 91. Unauthorized technology use, galactic threat assessment, critical one wrong word, and Earthwood. Burn. But Rylan didn't flinch. He began to speak. "I understand what you think of us," he said, his voice steady. "You think humans are dangerous, too emotional, too unpredictable. You believe we're just clever animals who got lucky with fire and machines?" A low growl came from the corner. A Tragan warlord bared its teeth. "He admits it," the creature snarled. But Rylan didn't stop. "Yes, we feel. We cry. We fight. We protect. That's not weakness. That's humanity." He turned to face the crowd. "You fear us because we don't break the way you expect. You test us. You throw us into cages, into wars, into betrayals. And still we survive. Still we find a way to rise," the tribunal murmured. Some leaned closer. Others leaned back. Voskareth narrowed his eyes. 91, Rylan tapped a button. The lights dimmed. A hologram appeared, grainy footage of a burned colony. Alien bodies, screams. Then, a single human family in chains. "They didn't attack," Rylan said. "They begged for help. Your allies ignored their distress calls. My team responded. We didn't start a war. We ended a massacre." A silence. Then a slow wave of whispers broke out. "Lies," hissed Azarniths. Officer Rylan turned to him. "Then, why were your supply ships found at the ruins? Why did your encryption codes match the raiders?" A screen flickered again this time. Raw intercepted transmissions. Zarnith voices. Orders. Coordinates. The chamber shook with shouting. Karath banged his staff. Silence. Rylan stepped forward. "We didn't come to fight. We came to tell the truth." "And what truth is that?" Karath asked, voice calm but cold. "That the galaxy is not ruled by law anymore," Rylan said. "It's ruled by fear. Fear of change, fear of something new, fear of something human." A panel of judges whispered among themselves. Of them, a crystalline being named Yura leaned forward. "And if the tribunal chooses to punish Earth," Rylan smiled just a little, "we won't run, we'll stand." A flicker of heat ran through the room. Not anger, not threat, but something. "Deeper resolve," he continued. "You wanted humans silent, controlled. But we don't kneel forever. You should know that by now. When we rise together. One world, one voice." Voskareth's fingers tapped the edge of his bench. "Is that a threat?" "No," Rylan said quietly. That's a promise. Suddenly, a message flashed on the Tribunal's private network. Another, Judge gasped. It's from the Talari swarm. Their homeworld just vanished. What? The screen changed. Live footage Talari space, empty. The sun still burned, but the planet was gone. Not destroyed, not burned, just erased. No sign of impact, a technician said. No radiation, no weapons, just silence. Panic spread like fire. Leaders stood. Guards stepped forward. Alarm lights flashed. Rylan watched silently. Do you know anything about this? Voskareth demanded. Rylan met his gaze. No, but I know what it means. What does it mean? It means the galaxy has bigger problems than Earth. The room spun with confusion. Fear, doubt. We must prepare a defense, shouted Aziron. General, if they can take the Talari, we're next. Who is they? Another judge yelled at. But Rylan's voice cut through the chaos. You wanted to control humans? You wanted to keep us small. But now, something else is watching all of us. He paused, and we may be the only ones who understand how to survive it. Voskareth narrowed his eyes. You're saying Earth can help, Rylan nodded. If you listen, or you'll face the dark alone, the judges whispered once more. Finally, Voskareth stood. His voice boomed across the chamber. Commander Rylan, by majority decision, the Tribunal will not punish Earth at this time. Instead, Earth will be granted temporary observer status with access to classified galactic intelligence. Gasps, protests, cheers, all at once. And one more thing, Voskareth added, eyes still on Rylan. If what you say is truth, then we will need you. Rylan nodded once. Then you'd better be ready to hear more of what we say. Outside, as he left the hall, his aide Myron to him, you did it. But that message, from the Talari, ... it wasn't natural. Mira frowned. You think it's connected to the ruins on Mars? I think he looked up at the stars. I think something ancient just woke up, and it's listening. Myra shivered. What now? Rylan looked back at the Tribunal building. Now we get ready for what's coming next.